The flood over the west, the story of Greece and Atlantis, the shores of the Aegean. Long before the world was cast in marble and bronze, when the Aegean was still a sea of wild islands and the people lived in cities of clay and stone, a new age of discovery began in Greece. The sun shone over the hills of Attica, the olive groves of Crete, and the harbors of Mycenae, where merchants from distant lands brought amber, tin, and purple dye. The Greeks of that age were not yet one nation. They called themselves Achaeans, Danaans, Ionians, or Pelasgians. Separated by mountains and sea, they spoke similar tongues and worshipped the same gods, Zeus above the clouds, Poseidon in the deep. Their cities rose like stars upon the sea. Knossos on Crete, Tiryns on the mainland, Troy by the Hellespont. Yet in those distant centuries, rumors reached the Aegean of a city greater than any other, a realm beyond the Pillars of Heracles, far to the west, Atlantis. The realm in the West Atlantis, said the Phoenician traders, lay in a vast ocean beyond the strait we now call Gibraltar. There, where the sun sank into the waves, stretched an island kingdom, green and fertile, encircled by canals and gleaming walls of red metal. The Atlanteans were said to be unlike ordinary men. They had aqueducts crossing hills, roads binding their lands, and harbors where ships from 100 nations gathered. Their king ruled over priests, warriors, merchants, and builders alike. At first, the Greeks thought it only a legend. But in the 16th century before our era, when the Minoans ruled Crete, the first encounters began. Ships from Atlantis, laden with copper and tin, arrived at the ports of Zakynthos and Thera. The Minoans traded pottery, olive oil, and fine-painted jars for the precious metals they needed for tools and weapons. Soon came envoys, then marriages between noble houses. One Atlantean prince was said to have wed a daughter of the king of Knossos. A fresco still shows a bronzed man leading a woman in white linen by the hand. Two realms beneath the sun. For a time, peace flourished. Atlantis in the west and Crete in the east became twin poles of one world. Between them, ships sailed across a calm sea of trade and learning. The Minoans taught the Atlanteans the art of writing and painting. The Atlanteans brought to the Greeks new metals, architecture, and the knowledge of tides and stars. Thus rose the first true civilization of Europe, a web of commerce, wisdom, and might. But great empires cast long shadows. The kings of Atlantis, once just and devout, fell into pride. They built temples of gold and bronze, offered sacrifices of beasts and men, and proclaimed that the gods had given them dominion over the seas. As their power grew, they reached eastward. First came merchants with demands, then soldiers with swords. Crete resisted, and the Greeks, especially the Mycenaeans, joined them. Thus began a war that would last many years, the battle between the ancient East and the ambitious West, the war for the sea. The ships of Atlantis were mighty, their sails woven of fine linen, their hulls dark and swift. Their warriors wore bronze helms and armor forged of a strange gleaming metal no Greek smith could name. They seized the Cycladic islands, conquered Melos, and turned toward Crete. But the Greeks knew the sea better. They fought not with might alone, but with cunning, luring Atlantean fleets into narrow bays where winds and currents betrayed them. On land, they fought with chariots, spears, and walls of Cyclopean stone. For years the war raged, until the final sea battle south of Thera, the island later called Santorini. There the united fleets of Greece and Crete met the Atlantean armada. The day was filled with thunder and smoke. Arrows fell like rain, rams splintered hulls, fire spread across the waves. At last, Atlantis was defeated. Its ships burned, its army scattered, and its pride broken. The Greeks thought they had triumphed, but the sea had other plans. The wrath of the sea. A year after the victory, the earth began to tremble, at first faintly, then with growing fury. Fishermen on Thera saw the ground shake beneath them, the water draw back from the shore, and the sky darken. A roar came from the depths, and then fire. The volcano of Thera exploded in one of the greatest cataclysms in human memory. Ash and smoke rose into the heavens, the sea boiled, waves higher than mountains swept across the Aegean. Crete was struck, its palaces shattered, its harbors drowned. But the West suffered most. Days later, the ground beneath Atlantis quaked. The sea rose against the land, fire burst from its heart, and entire cities sank beneath the waves. In a single night, Atlantis, the mightiest realm of the age, vanished. When dawn came, only smoke and silence remained. After the fall, when the sea grew calm again, the world was changed. Crete lay in ruins, the trade routes were broken. The survivors whispered that the gods had judged them, yet the Greeks on the mainland endured. In Mycenae, Tiryns, and Pylos, new rulers built palaces and walls of stone. They took what knowledge remained from Crete and Atlantis architecture, writing, and governance, and forged a new beginning. From the ashes of two fallen worlds rose the foundations of Greece. Centuries later, poets still sang of Atlantis, of its glory and its downfall. Some said its survivors fled east to Egypt, carrying their wisdom across the seas. Philosophers searched for traces of their lost island and found only legends. The legacy of Atlantis. Perhaps, said the wise men, Atlantis was never merely a place but a mirror, a reflection of what mankind becomes when wealth outweighs wisdom and power eclipses piety. Even Mycenae, which rose after Crete, would one day fall to war and discord, but memory endured. In Homer's songs it echoed, in Plato's dialogues it became a warning, and on the stones of Santorini its shadow still lies. The Greeks who survived built temples, wrote laws, and sought the secrets of nature. They learned that no city, no kingdom, no man lasts forever, but that knowledge, art, and remembrance do. Thus Greece became heir to two worlds, to drowned Atlantis in the west and fallen Crete in the east. And from these twin roots grew the civilization that would shape the world, the classical spirit of Hellas, the call of the deep. Sometimes, on clear nights, when the wind blows from the west, sailors on the Aegean say they can hear a faint rumble from beneath the sea, as though the ocean itself were breathing. Some swear they hear bells ringing deep below the waves. Perhaps it is only imagination, or perhaps it is the last heartbeat of a realm that once defied the gods Atlantis, and thus the circle closed. From ruin came memory, and from memory came wisdom. And as long as Greece endures, Atlantis endures not as a place, but as a warning that greatness and hubris are ever twins. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to stay updated. See you next time.